question that you have to ask yourself for health, especially since you are on the keto diet currently, is do you feel better when you are in a state of ketosis? Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another Sunday Q&A. Today's question is with regard to macros while on the carnivore diet. Specifically, should you track them? But before I start, you guys know the drill. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, ding, ding, ding. And if you don't want to watch the entire video, I will be including timestamps in the description so you can skip ahead to the section that you want. Now, onto the actual topic at hand. A couple weeks ago, I had uploaded a video on calories and whether or not you need to count them while on the carnivore diet. And on that video, I got a question from Jennifer Forrest. And Jennifer asks, I'm currently following the keto diet and have lost over 100 pounds, but my progress has really been starting to slow down the last couple months. I'm thinking of trying the carnivore diet and I'm curious about tracking macros. Do macros matter on this diet? Well, Jennifer, before I even get to your question, congratulations on losing over 100 pounds. That's an incredible accomplishment and keep up the good work. And one thing that I would like to let you know is that as you start to lose more and more weight, it is perfectly normal for your progress to slow down. It's much easier to lose weight in the beginning, especially if you are very, very heavy and have a lot of weight to lose. And a couple of the reasons why your progress is going to start to slow down. As you start to lose weight, your total daily energy expenditure will naturally go down because as you lose more and more weight, that means you have less weight to move around throughout the day. So because you're moving around less weight, that means you're going to be burning less NEAT calories. That's your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So things like walking around, standing up, talking, waving your hands around, brushing your teeth, all those little micro movements that you don't really think of. So it's perfectly normal that your progress would start to slow down, especially if you have lost a ton of weight. And the closer you get to your actual goal weight, the more it's going to be difficult to get these really, really big drops in weight the closer you get. When you're far away from your goal, it's a lot easier to lose a lot of weight. Once you get really, really close, you can be happy with even 1 pound of fat loss per week. So as long as you're losing even 1 pound of fat per week, you should be happy with that, and that's a good accomplishment. You don't need to be losing 5-10 pounds every single week. So if you are expecting to lose a ton of weight every single week, just know that it is completely normal for your progress to slow down. Now, onto your actual question about macros and whether or not you need to track them while on the carnivore diet. As with all of my other videos, you probably know that I have a nuanced approach to this question. I don't have a black or white answer. It's really going to come down to what is your goal? Is your goal to look better, feel better, or perform better? Because based off of those different goals, it's going to have a different answer. If your goal is to look better, so for aesthetics, tracking macros is unnecessary because at the end of the day, it's going to come down to calories in versus calories out. If you're in a caloric surplus, you're going to gain weight. If you're in a caloric deficit, you're going to lose weight. And if the amount of calories that you are taking in is equal to that of your total daily energy expenditure, then you are going to maintain your body weight. That being said, even though calories are really the only thing that matter when it comes to weight loss, you don't really need to count calories unless you are starting to stall on your progress. If you notice that a week or two goes by and you are not losing any more weight, then you may want to consider tracking calories, but it's unnecessary. There are other methods that you can use that I've mentioned in the past, so you could watch those other videos. But going back to the topic of counting macronutrients, you don't need to count macronutrients, but if you are going to track them, you can try different types of splits and see how exactly each one makes you feel. You can try doing something like a 25-75 split between protein and fat, so 25% protein, 75% fat. That's going to be percentage of your calories, not percentage of grams. You could also try a 50-50 split between protein and fat, and you could try a 75-25 split between protein and fat. Now, one of the reasons why I'm saying you may want to try this is because protein is a lot more satiating than the other macronutrients. So what you can do if you are losing weight and you're finding that it's starting to slow down a little bit, then something as simple as incorporating some more low-calorie dense foods would be beneficial for that. And for that, you would want to have a higher protein content and less of a fat content in your diet because protein is more satiating and there's also less calories in protein. For every gram of protein, you're going to have 4 calories in that 1 gram. For every gram of fat, you're going to have 9 calories in that 1 gram of fat. So what you can do is experiment with these different splits and see which one is more satiating for you and which one makes you feel better. If you find that you end up eating less calories on a higher protein diet, then tracking macros may be beneficial for you because if you do something like a 75 protein to 25 fat mix, and you find that that's keeping you very satiating and it's not causing you to eat more calories, then in that case, tracking macros would be beneficial. You could do the same thing with 50-50 and with the 25-75 split. Try these 3 different ones, see which one makes it easier for you to be in a caloric deficit. Whichever one makes it the easiest for you and makes you feel your best, that is the one that you should stick with. But in terms of whether or not you have to, it comes down to personal preference. You don't have to do it, but if you do want to, that's one way that I would recommend that you do it. And another thing that you can do with regard to tracking your macros is keep a food diary and keep track of these different splits. When you do the 25 protein, 75 fat, when you do the 50-50, and when you do the 75 protein, 25% fat. See which one makes you feel better, which one makes it easier for you to be in a caloric deficit, which one is going to cause you to lose the most amount of weight. Do each one for maybe 1 week, see which one you get the best results with, and then stick to that approach. Now, if your goal is not specifically aesthetics, let's say you want to feel better, so your main objective is optimizing your health. Well, for health, again, it's not something that you really need to do. The question that you have to ask yourself for health, especially since you are on the keto diet currently, is, do you feel better when you are in a state of ketosis? If the answer to that question is yes, and you do feel better when you're in a state of ketosis, then yeah, you should track your macros, because if you are not tracking your macros, it's going to make it very difficult to remain in a state of ketosis while following the carnivore diet. One of the reasons that's going to make it a lot more difficult is because if you consume a lot of protein, that could kick you out of a state of ketosis. And a lot of people often overlook this one point. The only carbohydrate that our body actually needs to function is glucose. And in the absence of carbohydrates, we are not able to get glucose from the food that we consume. So our body has to find a way to synthesize it on its own. And that is done through the process of gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis, for those of you who don't know, is the process of taking amino acids and converting those amino acids into glucose. So if you are consuming a very, very high protein diet, that protein, a lot of those amino acids will get converted into glucose. And if it gets converted into glucose, what's going to happen is your body and your brain is going to start to use glucose for fuel instead of ketones. So if you do feel better in a state of ketosis and you don't want to use glucose for energy, then keeping track of your macros would be beneficial, because you do want to get most of your calories coming from fat, and you want to try to minimize calories coming from protein. Something like a 25-75 split that I mentioned earlier would be beneficial for you, or even something like a 30-70 split. You could try with different splits, see which one is going to get you into ketosis, and then whichever one gets you there, stick with that one. Again, though, this is if you feel better in a state of ketosis. If you find that whether or not you are in a state of ketosis doesn't really make a difference, then it doesn't really make a difference. You don't need to track your macros, and you could just go ahead and eat according to how you feel. And again, you could keep a food log. For this one specifically, because you are trying to optimize health and not aesthetics, what you can do is the same thing. Do a 25-75 split, 50-50, and then do a 75-25 split. When you do your food log, instead of looking at the scale for your metric, keep a food diary and pay attention to how you feel. How is your mental clarity? How is your energy levels? How is your digestion? Are you feeling optimal in all of those different things? Whichever split makes you feel your best, that's going to be the best one for you. So what you can do is track your macros in the very beginning, figure out which one works best for you, and then continue to do that for a short period of time. Once you've determined which split works best for you, and you're able to do that without actually having to track them, then you can just go by intuitive eating, and you'll have a good idea of what exactly you need with regard to your protein consumption and your fat consumption. So you don't need to track it, but if you do feel better in a state of ketosis, then yes, you can track it, and those are a couple different things that you could do. Now, what if your main objective is neither looking better or feeling better? So you're not really focused on aesthetics or health. Your main objective is performance. Let's say you are a professional athlete, or you're not even a professional athlete. You are somebody who just likes to compete in sports, and you want to perform to the best of your ability. This one, same thing. You don't really need to track your macros. It's completely unnecessary. However, you can try different splits and see which one improves your performance the most. Same thing. You can try a 25 protein, 75 fat split, 50-50 split, and you could try a 75 protein, 25 fat split. You don't have to stick with these. You could try different types of splits to see what make you feel your best, but do those as a starting point. See which one makes you feel your best, and see which one improves your performance the most. when it comes to these different splits, same thing. I'd recommend that you do a food log of the different splits, and when you do each of these different splits, what you can do with your food diary, rather than looking at the number on the scale or looking at how exactly it makes you feel from a health standpoint, because your main objective is performance, what you want to do is look at metrics related to performance. There are 8 biomotor abilities that are directly related to athletic performance, and without these 8 biomotor abilities, you won't really be able to perform. So those 8 biomotor abilities are going to be strength, speed, power, endurance, agility, coordination, balance, and flexibility. So if you find that a specific split is improving one or more of those different aspects of your athletic performance, then go with that split. Do the 25-75, do the 50-50, and do the 75-25, and keep track of each of those different markers. How is your strength when you are on a 25-75 split, 50-50, and 75-25? How is your strength? How is your speed? How is your endurance? How is your agility? How is your balance? How is your coordination? Keep track of all those different things. You may find that one of these splits improves those different markers more than some of the other ones. So if you do find that a higher protein diet is going to improve your strength, speed, and power, then go with that type of a split if your main objective is to increase your speed, strength, or power. If you are somebody who is not really focused on speed, strength, or power, let's say you are an endurance athlete, you do marathons, which one of those different splits are going to give you more energy in terms of your endurance? When it comes to endurance, I find that typically most people will do better on a higher fat diet, and more people will do better on a higher protein diet when it comes to things like strength, speed, and power. So if you are in a sport that requires high amounts of strength, speed, and power, you may do better with a 75 protein, 25 fat split, or even a 50-50. Whereas if you are in a sport that requires large amounts of endurance, you may do better on something like a keto carnivore style diet, where you are following a 75% fat and 25% protein. But you're gonna have to experiment with it yourself. Again, write out the different splits that you're doing, see which foods make you feel your best, look your best, perform at your best, and keep track of those different foods. Measure right before you ate it. How did you feel before? How did you feel immediately while you were eating it and immediately after you consumed it? And then 2 hours after you ate that specific food, how did you feel afterward? Whichever one makes you feel your best, do that and stick to it, because if it makes you look better, feel better, or perform better, that is going to be the best metric. That's pretty much it for today's Q&A video. If you guys have any other questions, go ahead, ask your questions down in the comment section. I'll either answer them directly in the comment section or get to them in another one of our Sunday Q&A videos. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to make more of these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.